About 6 months ago, I moved to a quiet town in northern Washington after quitting a stressful job in Los Angeles and deciding I needed a break from everything: people, deadlines, the noise. I rented a small cottage just outside the town of Birchwood, nestled among towering pines and foggy hills about a mile from the main road. The place was old but charming, with creaky wooden floors and a tiny porch with a broken swing. I was told the last tenant, a writer, had lived there for 3 years and suddenly moved out without taking most of his things. That should have been a red flag, but I was too burnt out to care. The first few weeks were peaceful. I filled my days with long hikes, sketching, journaling, and brewing coffee so strong it could wake the dead. The locals were friendly in that distant, small-town way, polite smiles but never too close. I liked it. I liked the solitude, at least at first. But then, little things started to bother me. I'd find the back door slightly ajar, even though I swore I'd locked it. My coffee mugs moved around on their own. The fridge would buzz louder at night like it was straining. I told myself it was just me adjusting, maybe still carrying stress from Los Angeles. But the unease built quietly, like a low pressure in the chest that you can't shake. The first time I saw him, I was sitting on the porch around dusk, sketchbook on my lap, drawing the woods. I glanced up and saw a figure standing at the edge of the trees. Tall, lanky, and absolutely still. Not a hiker, not a hunter, just someone standing there, too far to see their face, too deliberate in their stillness. I blinked, and he was gone. No footsteps, no rustle of leaves, just empty woods. I thought maybe it was my imagination, or a deer standing upright for a moment, some weird forest trick. But 2 nights later, I saw him again. Closer this time. Standing in the gravel path that led to my house, his face still too far to make out, but there was something unnatural about his posture, like his limbs didn't belong to him. He didn't move, didn't flinch. I called out stupidly, "Hey, can I help you?" No response. I stepped off the porch and he was gone. I didn't sleep that night. I turned on every light, kept a kitchen knife under my pillow, and stared at the ceiling until sunrise. That morning I found muddy footprints by the back door, bare feet, too large to be mine. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't even know who to tell. A week later, it escalated. I started hearing whispers. Faint, unintelligible murmurs that came from inside the walls. Usually around 3 a.m. I'd sit up in bed and hold my breath, and they'd stop. But the silence was worse because it felt like something was holding its breath too, waiting. I bought motion sensors and cameras and set them up around the property. They worked fine during the day, but at night they'd glitch, flickering off and on randomly or showing static at exactly 2:59 a.m. every single night. Then one night the cameras caught something. I watched the footage the next morning, hands shaking. At 2:59 a.m., a figure stepped into frame. Tall, the same one I'd seen in the woods, only now I could see his face. Except it wasn't really a face, just a blank stretch of skin where eyes and a mouth should have been. But somehow, I still felt him looking at me. And worse, smiling. It was the feeling you get when someone grins too wide in a dream and you can't wake up. I packed my bag that day and drove into town to get a motel for the night. I needed to be around people, any people. But when I got to the motel and asked for a room, the woman behind the desk looked up and said, "Are you the one from the cottage on Ridge Trail?" That place isn't meant for living. It calls people. It keeps them. I laughed awkwardly, hoping she was joking. She wasn't. She handed me the key with a trembling hand and whispered, "Don't go back." I didn't sleep well that night. I kept dreaming of the figure, standing in the corner of the motel room, head tilted, like he was learning how to be human. The next morning I drove back to the cottage to get the rest of my things, determined to leave for good. But when I arrived, the cottage door was wide open. Inside, every light was off. The air smelled like wet stone and burnt wood. My furniture was gone. All of it. My bed, my table, even my rug, vanished like they never existed. The only thing left was my sketchbook, sitting neatly on the floor in the center of the room. I picked it up and flipped through the pages. Every drawing had changed. The trees I'd drawn were now twisted and wrong, like they were screaming. The sketches of the mountain trail now showed a dark shape hiding behind rocks. And in every drawing, no matter how faint or hidden, was the smiling man, watching me. Sometimes he was in the reflection of water, sometimes in the window, sometimes right behind me. I ran outside, got in the car, and drove as far south as I could. I stayed with an old college friend in Sacramento for a few weeks, trying to forget, but I kept hearing things, tapping on windows, footsteps at night. Once I found muddy prints on the carpet. I never told my friend. I didn't want to seem crazy. I eventually got a new job in San Diego and rented a high-rise apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows and security guards in the lobby. I thought I was safe. But last night at exactly 2:59 a.m., I heard a whisper in my living room. I checked the cameras. Static. When I stepped out of my bedroom, the glass on the balcony door was fogged up from the inside. And written in it, in long, dragging letters, were the words, "You drew me, I haven't slept since." Haven't.